very, very intimidating resume right there you have. And talking about the point, the talking point that we have tonight, good governance. It is not rocket science, we know, but we need you to break it down. And then knowing that this is something that you are very, very passionate about, we'd like you to just open the floor by actually looking at it, particularly, like I said, in the chit chat that we have before we came on here, that it seemingly has been very elusive for Nigeria since we attained that sovereignty. It's been one big question that Nigeria has seen not to be able to answer. We'd like you to open the floor by just throwing light on that, and we take it from. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah. We give thanks to Almighty Allah, and we beseech His noblest blessings on the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am glad to be with you tonight, and I thank you sincerely for inviting me to share my thoughts on a very topical issue, good governance. And I love the way you have modeled the topic by saying that good governance is not rocket science. When we make this statement that something is not rocket science, it means good governance is expected to be easy because rocket science is complex. So if good governance is easy, why is it elusive in Nigeria? So, and I believe that there are some missing links. Nigerians generally need to understand the missing gaps. And I think the day we are able to identify it, the solution is here. And that is what we are going to attempt to do this evening. Because if you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, you need to reassess yourself, because those who want new things in their life must be prepared to do things differently. Nigeria, as you know, has been blessed by Almighty Allah. Nigeria has the best of resources. Nigeria has the best climate. Nigeria has the most fertile land you can talk about.
You talk about good governance and not necessarily being complex as it's made to appear in this part of the world. Taking Nigeria into question, can you just look at, can we look at visionary and pragmatic leadership as one? If you can take it from there and then look Nigeria, take a look at Nigeria as a case study. What have been the missing points?
Thank you so much. Good governance generally is a system where processes and institutions are put in place to make use of the resources available to meet the needs of the society. So if anyone wants to quickly know what good governance is, then the person should just look at Nigeria. So Nigeria is the opposite of good governance. Good governance should bring happiness. Are Nigerians happy? No, they are not happy. Good governance need leaders who understand what they are doing. But do we really understand what we are doing? So the very first point I'm going to mention today is the followership's leadership. I'm using the word cautiously. Followership's leadership and the leadership's followership. Now, what I mean by followership's leadership is that if anyone thinks that among all those who are out campaigning to be leaders in Nigeria, if you think anyone has the ability to change things in Nigeria, we will have made a grave error. No individual, not me, not you. There is no individual that can bring about a change in Nigeria until all Nigerians understand the need that everyone must activate the leadership in him or her to have a change in all sectors. It is not a one-man's job. we will be deceiving ourselves, thinking that there is someone who can do the miracle. It is impossible. This orientation must go down to the grassroots. It's like someone filling the bucket and there's someone out there licking the bucket. We are just, we need to understand the concept of good governance from the holistic perspective and not from a narrow-minded angle where we put all the blame on a single person. It is impossible. While we need a leader, each person must understand what we call the followership's leadership. What do I mean by that is, in every sector, every human being has a role to play in changing the narratives. For example, when I flew to UK yesterday, the person beside me was praising the pilot. And I told the person that our getting to this place on time is as a result of the effort of over 100 people. It's not just one man's job. I said, you know what? You book your ticket through someone, you got to the airport, you got your boarding pass. Without your boarding pass, you will not enter this aircraft. Apart from the boarding pass, you needed to be checked to ensure that nobody would enter the aircraft with any explosive. That wasn't the pilot. Those ones must also do their job diligently. Look at the aircraft itself. Who will check the engine? It is not the pilot's job to ensure that the tires are okay. The pilot does not come down to check. Several people would have to do several activities. The meteorologists, they need to check how is the distance, what is happening to the climate, what will it, from every sector, there are people connecting this flight as the flight was flying. And there are people to receive and okay the arrival. So what I'm saying in essence is that good governance is a collective concept. It's not a concept that begins with one man and ends with that man. Everyone, I know as we continue, whoever says I'm a follower, you must first activate the leadership in you. And I tell you how you activate the leadership in you. Everything Almighty God has blessed you with, your organs. These are your own governance system. You are meant to govern the use of your tongue, for instance. If God says, do not tell lies, do not betray trust, do not use this tongue to make a promise you will not fulfill, that is a commandment from your Lord. Now you have a duty to lead that tongue to follow that righteous path. That is when you become a leader of your tongue. But the day you follow these desires, your own self-desires, which means your tongue begins to stand for injustice, your tongue begins to engage in falsehood, your tongue begins to make promises it will not fulfill. That day you become a follower of your tongue. You are not yet qualified to lead any other person because you have not succeeded in leading yourself. Our ability to compel, this is what is called self-jihad. You fight yourself to a standstill to ensure that none of your organs, not your mouth, not your ears, not your eyes, not your legs, not your hand, engages in anything that is against the rule of the game, which is righteousness anyway. So until you are able to ensure that as an individual, you can lead yourself on the righteous path, that is when you are qualified to lead any other person. If you see in Nigeria, you talk of terrorists, talk of this, talk of that. Why are things not working the right way? Making the rule of law to see the light of the day is now almost impossible in Nigeria. So many people are involved in frustrating the system. If these people do not change, we are voting in vain. I tell you what, okay, why does crime thrive in Nigeria? It is because right from the person who will arrest, he has not activated the leadership in him to say money cannot buy me. The law must simply work, you know. Now, from that person to the lawyer is not prepared to activate the leadership in him to ensure that as a lawyer, I will not defend a criminal to the detriment of the system. If you are guilty, please confess. Please return what you have looted. Please let us stand for justice from that lawyer to the judge. Someone was talking about president. I said, you know what Mr. President does? Do you know how weak a president is? Does he make the law? He doesn't make the law. The law in Nigeria is made by 109 senators and 360 House of Representative members. Are they ready to activate the leadership in themselves? Now, all the laws made by 109 senators and 360 House of Representative members, do you know that one single person can declare the law to be null and void? That is a judge of a high court. Has that judge prepared to activate the leadership in him to ensure that this country sees the light of the day? Apart from him, there are justices of the Court of Appeal. Are they ready? There are justices of the Supreme Court. Are they truly ready? Look at the body of permanent secretaries. Look at the engine room called the civil service. Are they ready? Are our parents ready to understand what we mean by child upbringing? Because the children you train today are the leaders tomorrow. As a matter of fact, what we see in all offices are evidences of good training or lack of it. So are we ready? Do we think that we have been asked to train even only our own children? The day we learn only to train our children, leaving other people's children aside, we have not succeeded in training our children. Because what do you see? The children of the untrained children, they are the ones now slaughtering the trained children. You know, Allah says in Quran chapter 8, verse 25, fear a trial that will consume not only those who started it. So if you steal government's money and use it to train your children, and because of that, other people are incapacitated, don't you think you have wasted your time training your children? Because those other ones who have not been trained, they will be idle. And an idle hand is the devil's workshop. And when the devil eventually uses them to make life miserable for your children and your unborn children, that is when you know that you have not trained anyone. Until you know that no one should be left outside this game. If terrorists use, their gun or their rifles to terrorize and kill, they brought it in through a channel. And those managing that channel, whether they are customs or whatever you call them, they have not activated the leadership in them. And they become prosperous out of the mystery of Nigeria. Pay me, go in with the gun. And then, so look at the system entirely. Are we truly ready? So the leadership that we want to discuss this night is the realistic leadership, where each person understands that, wait, I have a role to play. If my daughter is with me, I must ensure that the society is saved from the nuisance of this young girl. So I must mold this girl, prepare this guy to be an asset to the public and not to be, are the teachers ready? Are the lecturers ready? Are the doctors ready? Are the journalists ready? You see, an average journalist today, they only discharge their duties in line with the dictates of their proprietors. You know, everything you see is in line with who has established this newspaper. When are we going to get this independent journalism, investigative journalism that truly speaks on behalf of the ordinary Nigerians and not necessarily a political party influenced, newspapers and, journalism generally? It affects every sector. So this is how I want to introduce this topic, that, I start by saying the followership's leadership and then the leadership's followership. Are the followers ready to be leaders? Is everyone ready to call himself a leader? Because until you are ready to activate the leadership in you, do not talk about leadership of anyone else. Then every leader is also a follower. You cannot be a good leader if you are not ready to be a follower. Minimally, you are a follower of God. You want to do the bidding of God. You are a follower of even your constitution. Do you know that there are very beautiful provisions in the Nigerian constitution that if anyone who stands after he or she has been elected, he stands to say, you mention your name and you say you promise to preserve the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And despite saying that, various verses in sections of this Constitution tells you that once you fail to uphold these sections, why are you still in government? If someone does not find it easy to resign, you are not a good leader. Good governance is what builds in you ability to resign when you fail to uphold the tenets of the Constitution you have, sworn to protect. I give you an example. There is right to life in the Constitution. It is under the fundamental human rights that everyone shall have freedom or right to life, and no one shall be deprived of his or her life except in accordance with this Constitution. So, but now people are being deprived of their lives, not in accordance with the Constitution, and I fail to resign. That means I am not a good leader. That is what it means simply. Because when I say it, I do it. Why do people easily resign abroad, all over the world? They resign because once they observe that what has happened, is not consistent with the oath of office they have sworn to uphold, they resign easily. But in Nigeria, you now begin to see, things that you don't even know how to describe. So I don't know if I made any sense.
Thank you very much. Absolutely thought-provoking submission from you there, right there, sir. You talked about good governance being a collective concept and how each individual have a role to play to change the narrative. I appreciate that. Then I like the fact that you also ended on a note by making reference to other clients. How is it that we have it very easy for public office holders in other clients to resign when things seems not to be falling in place for them? Can we take examples of how all of these things that we have said have worked out for other clients? Probably we can take a look at some few examples, and probably we can consider that for how we can actually look at applying that in our own policy right here, sir.
Well, let me give you the example of a man called Umar bin AbdulAziz.
Fantastic.
A great ruler. I made some jottings. Let me just get it. He ruled for only 30 months. Only 30 months. Here people want to die in office. And during his short period, he changed the world. His tenure was the brightest period in the 92-year history of the Umayyad Caliphate. He was the son of Abdulaziz, the governor of Egypt. His mother, granddaughter of Umar bin Khattab. Are you still hearing me? Someone was calling this phone, so I was trying to.
Very well, very well.
Okay. So he remained, while he was the governor. Let me just go. When he was nominated, to lead, he went to the pulpit and he addressed the people. He said, "Oh people," because there, what they do is, a committee will sit down and look at people's antecedents and look at, their records. That's what they call the consultative committee. So it was chosen by the committee. So, but he went to the pulpit to address the people. He said, "Oh people, I have been nominated your caliph despite my unwillingness. I've been nominated your leader despite my unwillingness and without your consent." Look at how he recognized the legitimacy of having the consent of the people. So he said, "So here I am. I relieve you all of your pledge, the allegiance you have given to me. I want you to elect whomsoever you find suitable as your leader." You know what the people did? They shouted, "Oh, Umar, we have full faith in you and we want you as our leader." Look at that. Legitimacy. The day we allow the electoral process to be fair, to be transparent, it will translate into good governance naturally. The day you realize the power of the people, without bribery, without corruption, without vote buying, without anything, you allow votes to count, it will naturally throw away bad eggs. Because then that person will begin to respect the people and know that their power can remove me from position. But if we allow thuggery, vote buying, corruption by institutions, whether police, whether whoever is in charge, to rub off the system of allowing votes to count, that leader will never respect the people. Let me continue. He said, after the people had given him the consent, he said, "Oh people, obey me as long as I obey Allah. And if I disobey Allah, you are not duty bound to obey me." Umar was extremely pious. He was averse to worldly luxuries. He preferred simplicity to extravagance. He deposited all assets and wealth meant for the ruling leader. He deposited it into the public treasury. He abandoned the royal palace. He preferred to live in a modest house. He wore rough clothes instead of royal robes. And he went unrecognized in public, like his great-grandfather, Umar bin Khattab. And after his appointment, he discarded all the pompous appendages of princely life, all the servants, maids, horses, palaces, golden robes, real estate. He returned all of them to the public treasury. He asked his wife, Fatima, to even return the jewelry they gave him from his own father, from her father. The wife complied. Now, he never built a house of his own. I want you to see this example. He never built a house of his own. There was someone who wrote about him that he spent 2 dirhams a day as a leader, 2 dirhams. And on salary, he received lesser salary than the least paid worker, in government. Before he became a leader, his private properties yielded, because he was very rich before he became a leader, his private properties yielded an income of 50,000 dinars annually before his nomination. But when he returned all this property to the public treasury, his own property, his private income was reduced to 200 dinars. Compare 50,000 dinars to 200 dinars per annum. This was his wealth when he was commanding the country. And he was having borders with France in the west, borders with China in the east. One day, his wife found him weeping after prayers. So she asked, what had happened? He replied, I have been made the ruler over a people. And I was thinking of the poor who are starving, and the sick who are destitute, and the naked who are in distress, and the oppressed that are stricken, poverty stricken, and the stranger that is in prison without any fault of his own, and the venerable elder, the elders who are not being taken care of, and those who have large families and small means. He said, the like of them in countries of the earth, that I felt that my Lord will ask me about them on the day of resurrection. And I fear that no defense will avail me at that time. That is why I wept. He was very considerate to subject. His generous reforms and leniency led the people to, because of the way he was governing them, the people willingly paid taxes. You will not believe. Before he became governor, the taxes they were collecting was 28 million annually. When he came in, the taxes people voluntarily paid increased to 124 million dirham, which means when people truly see a leader who effectively communicates with the people and who truly is not only preaching, but truly represents what he stood for, people will comply willingly. He undertook extensive public work in Persia, in Khorasan, in North Africa, including construction of canals, roads, rest houses for travelers, medical dispensaries. The result was that during his short reign of 2.5 years, people had become so prosperous and contented that one could hardly find a person who would accept alms. It was credit, he did a lot. And this is, why I know that some of these things that we are saying, you may think of, I always defend the prosperity of Nigeria, and because as young as I am, I have traveled around, and I can say boldly, no country is as blessed as Nigeria. And I always defend that point, because you go to some countries, they have extreme weather conditions. They experience earthquake, they experience tsunami, they have cyclone, they have hazards. Look at the flood in Pakistan. Look at how people are being swallowed. Now, if a country like Saudi Arabia, cannot cultivate yam and harvest it because they do not have fertile agricultural land, if a country like Saudi Arabia has to pray for water, Salatul Istisqa, so that Allah blesses them with rainfall, they'll have lack of it. Now, compare these countries with Nigeria. We have everything working. As far as abundance of resources from Allah is concerned, we should cover our, So, in fact, people will say, that's what we say, because it is in abundance. What is the problem? Saudi Arabia has oil, we have crude oil. Qatar is becoming prosperous daily on account of their natural gas. We have natural gas in abundance. So, but what I'm saying is that it is not the presence of all resources that matters. It is the righteousness to translate the resources into prosperity that matters. For example, the giver of the resources, Allah, the giver of the resources, informed us. He said, whoever is able to fight to a standstill his or her own greed. Once you can fight your greed and you praise it with contentment, there will be happiness everywhere. So we have misunderstood wealth. We have misunderstood money. We do not even understand what it means to live well. All the things that Almighty God has given each person, money cannot buy. Unfortunately, we misunderstand the role of money. Therefore, we fail in the distribution of wealth. We fail in the development of our future leaders. We build thugs. We build criminals. We build them to commit crime, and we are the ones who bail them out. We go to the prison to say we release inmates. We do all sorts of things. Once there was a time I traveled to Singapore. In the night, around 2 a.m., that was when the aircraft landed. So eventually, before I came out, it was around 3 a.m. So of course, the road was deserted. So, but the car that took me, we were the only one on the road, on this particular road. And when the traffic light showed red, the man stopped. Of course, I was afraid because we were the only ones there. And I told the man, can't you go? There's no other vehicle. You know, as we do in Nigeria. The man said, if I move, I will no longer drive in Singapore. Allah Akbar. I will never forget that statement. Said, if I move now, I will no longer drive in this country. So, and the man now it took time to explain to me the processes of their law. That when someone is arrested, nobody goes there to beg for him in our country. Nobody. Because everything is an offense here. So making the law works. Let's underline it. Making the law work. That's what we call rule of law. Once we allow, Nigeria has beautiful laws, my brother. Nigeria has beautiful laws. There are some laws, if these laws are followed, but the simple tragedy is that the rule of law, which expects equality before the law, is not what operates. We are not equal before the law. In fact, it is the innocent who are suffering and the criminals who are walking free. If you look at the processes of prosecution, you understand what we mean by justice delayed and eventually denied. Do you know that those who commit crime in Nigeria, they commit it easily because there is no example that will enable us to be deterred. Evans was arrested for kidnapping. Since when? What has happened since then? Look at how many people he killed. So if you realize that the person who killed others has not been publicly executed and has not been killed, there's no deterrent. So every other person wants to do the same thing. Is it not Nigeria? You can bribe your way through. So it still boils down to what I said earlier, that every system must be activated to activate the leadership in themselves, and we'll be able to have all these, examples. We run extremely expensive legislature. The annual budget of the legislature in Nigeria, and this is a fact, will build, when we calculated with the amount used to build the latest airport in Dubai, we realized that the budget, most of which are recurrent expenditure of the National Assembly in Nigeria, 1 year budget will build 3 Dubai airports 3 times. And 1 Dubai airport 3 times. You look at the latest airport is the one I'm talking about. We calculated the amount used for it because they used to cook for it. So the amount is in the public. Now we look at our budgets, the National Assembly. Why do we have 109? How can a poor country be running the most expensive government? So if we have 36 states, so what's the problem? Why can't we have 1 person represent each state? And 36 people, when they sit down, they've represented the country. Why do we need too many people to argue and argue? We need to understand, even as we elect governors, that's how we should elect 1 legislator to represent each state. You will see how much we are going to save from unnecessary rancor. So that's why I'm saying that taking democracy from the West, we need to understand that we need a unique democracy. You don't necessarily have to follow, because the people you are following, they are even different from what they also went through this type of experience. But we do not need to, I forgot to mention when I was talking about the blessings of God, on Nigeria during the COVID. Look at, if you say that your country is not the best country and you are not favored, look at what God did. Countries that are medically advanced, COVID-19 reduced them to nothing. Now look at a lawless country like our country, where we don't obey simple rules. When they say use no mask, when you say do this, that COVID was supposed to come and kill millions upon millions. The ones there I got to Kara, I ran back. The day I used no mask at Idumata, I was like a madman in the midst of all of them. But what did God do? God saved us. So he has done his part and he keeps doing his part. But we forget to understand that until we ourselves, begin to think differently, stop expecting miracles from a few people. From the moment you want to elect, you begin that process from that process. Why do you collect money from people? You want to vote. You want to determine your future. You are collecting money from people. Automatically, that person will never do well. I'll give you a personal experience. When I was in the House of Assembly, while I was campaigning, the only thing I told you, I said, I will go for only one term. And alhamdulillah, I went for only one term. Even then, I remember that they insisted that I must return. That is the leadership of the state. But I remember that I told them in my constituency that I will do only one term. And they kept on saying, oh, if you get there, you will know. I got there. I did not see anything fantastic. The day I went to give them reports, what we call constituency briefing, about how many laws we have passed, how many motions I moved, because I was given the award of the most whatever, I do not want to mention it, Then, on account of the number of motions I had moved, so I thought my people were following, and then they would be happy that they were being represented by someone who was not just sleeping, in the chambers. You know what happened? I got there and I was briefing them. I was briefing them at the constituency meeting. Then somebody just shouted, then the chairman told me, Honorable, I said, okay. So they were more than 500, but I had 100,000. The moment I announced 100,000 like this, come and see dancing. Ọmọ tiwa ni wọ́n ń ṣe nípa ìgbàgbọ́ nínú ẹgbẹ́ wa. Ṣebí wọ́n ṣàlọ́nà rèébù wa. Ṣá máa rìn kó máa yan. Falala. I said, yes, we have entered one chance. These are the people you want to represent. Look at their expectations and look at the huge task before you. If you hear that any politician is corrupt, go down to the grassroots and look at the people collecting money from him. Because if a senator comes and wants to give you money, I say, please go away with your money. We are asking you about development. That senator will concentrate on development. But if that senator comes and you are asking him for money, he uses everything he collects from the chambers to buy empowerment, to buy, motorcycles, to buy this, to buy that. That's not the role of a lawmaker. But the situation now has forced them to do that. So what do they do in addition? They now steal. When a commissioner comes before the House or a minister comes before the National Assembly, they will now, load the budgets with a lot of things so that when it comes to implementation, don't forget, we know how much we put there. We know how much we put there, So look at, it's like we are deceiving ourselves. Who are the thieves? Comparing those who are stealing with those who send them to go and steal. It's the same thing. If he wants to be nominated, the so-called people who are nominating them will not allow you to govern. So because they will expect you to do their bidding. So even if you know what is right, your hand is changed. You can't do it. So we are in a serious dilemma. And if you come out today, and you say you altruistically, you don't want to bribe anybody, you don't want to steal money, you don't want to pay anyone, you just want to go there and represent the people. Now tell me, how do you get there? Look at the amount of money they use to buy form. How do you get the money? And Nigerians, and if Nigerians truly are ready, they can rubbish all these money bags. But I tell you, Nigerians are not ready. The same people who ask you to go out will be the same people to rubbish you. That look at this useless person. Is this the person who will represent us? So we have a long journey.
All right, thank you very, very much. Interesting take right there, Dr. AbdulHakeem AbdulLateef. For your information, if you're wondering why is it that the speaker seems to be drifting into the political arena in his submission, he's a one-time elected member of Lagos State House of Assembly. He's a former commissioner, and a former special advisor to Lagos State Governor on political and legislative power. So he knows his onions. So we are hearing it from the horse's mouth. And of course, I like the fact that we are putting Nigeria in context because right now, Nigeria is on the cusp of another political transition come 2023. And it's beginning to throw up a lot of issues. Right now, we're even talking about a third force to challenge the old order because it seems the youth has, seemingly now ready for things to begin to change. I would like you to speak to what we need to change going into this general election. I will need you to break it down. But before we get into that, for information, if you are just joining us, it is the Inspirational Leadership Series coming to you from the stables of the Global Center for Leadership and Human Development. And we have as our guest tonight, Dr. AbdulHakeem AbdulLateef, a one-time commissioner for Home Affairs in Lagos State, and has been breaking down good governance has not been a rocket science. So he's been speaking to this and more. He's going to be responding to what I said about the polls that is coming up February 2023 and what Nigerians need to do to get it right this time. And he has spoken to what we need to do in our individual capacity to also change this ugly narrative. But I think we'll need him to also break it down with regards to what we need to do as a collective. However, by the time we come back from that submission, then you can indicate to also make contribution. You can ask questions, you can seek clarification, and all of that. So when we come back from this time up with him now, so begin to entertain your comment and your contribution afterwards. So please bear that in mind. So, sir, as like I mentioned, we're going into the general election in February 2023. What exactly do we need to do differently this time?
Well, in the first place, we have to change our attitude to politics. And I'm talking about political apathy, people not wanting to participate. There are three categories of people according to Albert Einstein. The first category, there are those who make things happen. Second category, there are those who watch as things are happening. And the last category, there are those who wonder why things are happening the way they are happening. So I urge all of us to belong to the first category, those who make things happen. So what we have to do is to be politically active, and ensure that, because if you really want things to change, people are divided into 4 groups when it comes to change or change management. You have the change champions. I urge all of you to be change champions. Those who want to champion this change, they must begin from themselves, begin from your family, begin between the relationship between you and your wife. Be someone who maximizes happiness for others. Begin to play that role wherever you are. So apart from getting your PVC and being ready to vote, you must begin to vote by voting for yourself and say, me, I am a change agent. If I'm a trader, I will cheat no one. If I'm, if I am leading anyone, I want them to have the best experience while they are with me. If I'm a police officer, no bribery and corruption. If I'm a judge, I'm going to face meritocracy. If I'm to appoint anyone, there is no S in R. There's no sentiment in my recruitment. Merit will replace nepotism. So everyone will understand that this change truly begins with me. Then you will now be able to cascade it down. Bring all members of your family to be politically active. And then we can engage ourselves. Right now, what you see in the polity, people have been distracted by a lot of things. Let us talk about the competent leader. And competence has nothing to do with age. We have seen the youngest people who have performed brilliantly, and at the same time, this person I just mentioned died at the age of 34. So as a young person, you can do it. We have also seen young people who are as corrupt as you can imagine. We've seen young ones who are law-abiding, young ones who are criminals. We've also seen elderly people who are sound, who are sane, who are pious as leaders. We've also seen elderly people who are corrupt. So it's not about age. Age is not even an issue. What is the issue here is competence and commitment. The necessary skills, we need to listen to people, engage them, and leave sentiments apart. Because it is sentimental if anybody brings in the issue of religion. I'll tell you it's sentimental. The reason is that Nigeria has been brought together by God, whether you like it or not. On account of that, nobody is going to construct a road for only the people of his religion. We allow some of these things to divide us, asking, what is the religion of Mr. A? What's the religion of Mr. B? There are areas now that are the 17 southern states are governed by Christian governors in Nigeria. You know, many of the states have Christian. But what is my concern if I get to the state? I just need good governance. What should be uppermost when we engage people? Because religion is private. Each person, no one has the capacity to Christianize a Nigerian or Islamize a Nigerian. But we have allowed religious sentiment to rob us of the salient issues we should be talking about. So if you are engaged on the issue of terrorism, for instance, what is happening in Nigeria, you want to know what is responsible for it. How many soldiers do we have? What is our capacity? What about the ammunitions? From where are they coming in? The ones we bought from the West, if you know the processes it went through, it was almost frustrated. Can't we find an alternative? We are talking about issue-based. Can't we triple the number of the armed forces? How many people really are in the armed forces? What is stopping us from ensuring that we have 10 times the number that we have? What is the problem with ensuring that all criminals are arrested? Where are the cameras? Who is in charge of electricity? Why is it that they are not powered? You know, things that other countries have established. It's about copy and paste. Why is it working here? Why is it not working with us? So this time around, all of us must understand that going forward, we must begin to enlighten ourselves because the awareness is so low. If you look at the population of each state and the number of people voting in that state, Lagos, whether you like it or not, is more than 24 million in population. The last election, what was the result? Not up to 2 million people voted in Lagos State. So what is happening to the 22 million? So we need aggressive campaign, aggressive awareness. Wake up the consciousness of the people to understand that if you have identified the leader you want to vote for, it is a game of number, whether you like it or not. So if the righteous ones fold their arms and you allow those whose orientation is to continue to loot, to get into power, you will continue to sing the same song all over. So what I'm saying in essence is that leadership needs free and fair election. It needs transparency. It needs the leaders to be great followers of the rule of law, great followers of the Constitution. We need someone whose word is his bond. Apart from commitment to the rule of law, the person's competence the person's commitment, the person's responsiveness, the person's accountability. We must remove immunity. Anyone who still enjoys being above the law cannot lead. We need no sacred cows. We need no immunity. All professionals must rise up to understand that their role in governance is not less than that of a governor. Because like I said, if as a legal practitioner, you uphold the tenet of good governance, you will not be the one encouraging looters in courts, quoting sections of the law to deceive Nigerians, talking about your political competence to bring incompetence upon Nigerians. So and those of us who struggle for positions must understand that on the day of judgment, you will be resurrected with chains in your hand. Allow those who are competent to be appointed. Stop using your position to bring nepotism on board. Look, the name of the state does not matter. The religion of that person does not matter, so long as that person can deliver. Look, when it is time to play football in Nigeria, why we have not succeeded in winning that World Cup is that it is shrouded in politics. One king will bring one person and say, this is the nomination from my state. This is the nominee from my state. One political power will bring someone who is not competent, forgetting that if all the players are from Anambra, all the best players are from Anambra, if we allow it that way, they will wear the jersey of Nigeria and they say it's Nigerians that are playing. But areas where competencies and commitments are expected to be displayed, what we display is loyalty and political patronage. So if you look at the system generally, you hardly find whether we are still on the same page. So there are mentors for Dubai and mentees. There are mentors in Singapore and their mentees. And if you see that these leaders, this visionary leader, because what we call a visionary leader is somebody who really knows what he wants. Where are we going? What is the direction to that path? Do we have the required drive to take us there? So if we are talking about next election, all of us must now prepare. How many people are campaigning now? Everyone must campaign. Everyone must go to the grassroots. The leaders in the churches and the mosque must change their orientation. Their orientation is about what do you bring? How many churches and mosques have rejected donations by political aspirants? How many? How many of the leaders have truly said to the face of the contestants that we don't need your money, we need performance? It is only then that they can begin to perform. When you don't lobby that you must put my child there because I voted for you, we are in the same party, so it is members of our party that should know. Nigerians should be talking about a government of national unity wherever you can find it, which means that the most competent person may not be available in my state. I may find that person who is competent to handle this in Bayelsa. I will not be interested. You may remove me because the day what we need is results. You see Morocco and all these various countries. What are they doing in Nigeria? They are the ones carrying Nigerians up and down. All the things that Nigerian Airways will have brought in. So you just ask yourself, what is wrong? Who is there? Even leaders have said that our leaders don't know what is happening. It's not a joke. You know, I've been in government. There are leaders that people prevent from knowing what is happening. And such a leader shouldn't be a leader. You will be surprised that, I don't want to mention names, there are people who are leading us that when you get to their living room, the television does not show anything Nigeria. The television is National Geography. so that this person does not know what is happening. If you are such a leader, is it not your responsibility to tell them all the television in this house must show only Nigerian, news? But those who are in their kitchen, what they call kitchen cabinets, who benefit from the rot in the country, would not be happy if this person sees what is happening, because he may die on account of hypertension. So you'll be shocked that some news, because leaders should be on the streets, leaders should be everywhere, leaders should know when to remove people, leaders should know when to, retrench as many people as possible. Because if you say you are clean and they are stealing under you, you are the thief. So generally, I would just urge everyone, be prayerful and be involved. And do not allow yourself to be used against what you believe to be the right thing. I don't know if you are still there.
Of course, yes.
Okay.
We are here, we are with you.
Okay.
We are very much with you. Thank you very much, sir. Again, very, very insightful right there. We all have heard it. One of the bane of our political failings is attributed to our political apathy. And of course, as you can hear from our guests tonight, that the need for us to be actively involved in the political dispensation. We need to be a political champion, just as he has put it. So we have this all to do as we are going into the polls in 2023. We need to get it right. And of course, the change that we seek actually starts with us. Thank you very much. Now we're going to be entertaining your contribution. You know what to do. If you have any comments to make, kindly indicate use the icon to indicate, and then we'll call on you, we'll allow you to unmute and make your contribution. So we have to bear in mind that we are gradually eating on stretch. So we have a couple of minutes more still to spend with our guest, Dr. AbdulHakeem AbdulLateef. So if you have comments or if you have contribution to make on this talking points, will allow you to do that. Okay. Bolariwa Kodri, I can see your hands up. So you will be allowed to unmute your mic now and then make your contribution, and please keep it short and simple because of our time. You can go ahead, Bolariwa Kodri, unmute your mic.
Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. I actually have a question and not a contribution. Can I go ahead?
Please go ahead.
Okay, my question is, when choosing leaders, okay, using the Nigerian perspective as a case study to the upcoming election, is good health a condition or a criteria for choosing a leader? That's my question. Good and sound health, is it a condition or criteria for choosing a good leader? I hope it's gotten.
Hello, is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good health is a condition. Good health is a condition. And that's why you see everyone contesting, proving that he is okay, he is fit, So you remember when Amechi wanted to contest, he ran around the field. Ngige also did the same thing, I think Ashwaju showed something on a bicycle showing his fitness. So everyone will have to prove to the people that he or she is fit. Of course, anything can happen while you are in government. People die, while there. You can die through of accident, anything can happen. So what is important is a very good question you have asked, the fitness of that person also. I'm going to start from where I started from. I started by saying that there is no single person who can achieve anything in Nigeria if the various stakeholders are not ready, And what I mean by this is, it's not an election of one person. In fact, by the time everyone changes, or the majority of people change, that leader would have no choice but to perform or be booted out. But if you look at the system where a leader fails to perform and those who should impeach also fail to impeach, what do you think is wrong? It means it is deeper than a single person's issue. Because if we have a National Assembly that is alive, I don't want to say something else. You understand? So, or if you have a judiciary, we have a body of, so generally it's about performance. Is not about an individual. Yes, we are going to look at individual who will be president, but me, I have not seen the miracle worker anywhere in the world. No miracle worker can come and lead Nigeria as a president when Nigerians are not ready. And I started by saying, look at everyone. Everyone must look at himself as the person he or she wants to vote for. You must vote for yourself. How do you vote for yourself? Are you truly ready as a Nigerian to change? It's not about Mr. President now. As a Nigerian, to change. Because I have seen how useless any effort made at the top can be if people who are under have not keyed into the change mantra. I started by looking at what lawyers do, what judges do, it is not the governor or the president that will appoint lawyers.
Yeah.
No. Even judges, you appoint them based on the fact that this one is competent, this one is merit-based, this is this and that. Okay, look at, and I said, okay, if the governor, the president, for example, executive initiates, he does a lot of things. How many people does he want to appoint? Do you know that Mr. President can make 20,000 appointments? That's the power, that's the opportunity available to any president in Nigeria. And I can prove it. The appointments made by Mr. President covers 20,000 positions in Nigeria. So, who are we voting for? How does he know the competence and commitment of these 20,000 people? If he truly wants to govern, are they ready? Are we ready to create an unprecedented level of awareness among all Nigerians that this ball is in our court, it's not in the president's court? And I said again, the president does not have the power to make laws. Laws are made by 109 senators. The laws are made by 360 House of Representatives. They are the ones who approve the budget. Are they ready to change? Are they ready to change?
Have you even wondered why Nigerians are so fixated on the office of the president? We're not talking about those who are going to the Senate, who are going to the House.
He cannot spend 1 naira without the approval of these senators and the 360 House of Representative members. These are the people who govern. And you see them paddling budgets, frustrating even efforts of ministers, and saying that contract must be given to their cronies. So now leave that aside. And I said, even when laws are made by the legislature, you know that one person can say the law is unconstitutional. One person, not 30 people, one person. And that one, if you appeal, you go to the Court of Appeal, 3 people or 5 can say, okay, it is not, you have not done well at all. The 360 and 109 of you, only 5 people. Are these 5 people ready to change? Go to the Supreme Court, the highest court. It's not 500 people who sit there. 7 justices will hear the matter and say, this is our. Are they ready to change? Are the policemen ready to change? Are the custom officers, the immigration officers, Nigerians, are we ready to change? So
right.
it's about, that's why you see that it's something that is good governance as easy as we think it is. Because yes, it is not rocket science, but then we are yet to realize that the dramatics personnel, the people who should really, really be interested in changing, they are larger than we think. You know, when I was in government, it was then I realized that if you do good, let me use that layman's English, you have to pay before the journalist will report it. But if you are a criminal, you don't need to pay. So which means that the story that are being given to the people and distributed with a lot of passion, they are the bad news. They don't encourage good news. There was a day I was the commissioner and the governor would attend my program. Because the governor will attend, automatically the press crew of the governor would come. And on that particular, that particular program, I was not giving a dime for the press. The governor told me my press men are coming. So I told these people, when they came to us, I said, are you not the governor's press? Has the governor not settled you people? They said, Honorable, you have to settle us. I said, me, I don't have money to give. When I watched the news that night, if you see how they caught me, I was standing beside the governor. It was like using cutlass to cut somebody aside. They reported and I was not shown. If you construct a road, you need to pay before they carry the news. You know, there is a lot of corruption in all sectors.
Absolutely, doctor.
So if you are doing good, let me use the word again. Nobody will know about your goodness in Nigeria. Because even the pressmen who are expected to carry it, they need money. You know that most of the trips abroad, they go with pressmen. And those pressmen are involved in all the estacos and all the largesse. So the day anybody says, I don't want to steal, I want to maintain this, you will see the press go against him because, of course, he's not delivering anything. So I'm just saying that, my brother, I understand your question, but I want us to expand the scope beyond narrowing down on a single person to now begin to think about how we restore the family institutions. Each person know that any child going out of this family will be an asset to Nigeria, not a liability. Every teacher who stands, every religious leader who preach, ensure that you play your role. I'm sorry I've eaten into your time. I agree with you that there are external influences, but the external influences, it's not the reason why the politicians are corrupt. It's not the reason why the lawyer is corrupt. It's not the reason why the policeman takes bribe. It's not the reasons why the family institutions are no longer training their children. It's not the reason why everybody is talking about money. It's like an external family trying to influence your family because they are rich and what have you. Do you know that with good conduct, with the fear of God, you can easily upturn whatever plans they have? In fact, the colonization of Nigeria by these foreign powers is not as bad as the slavery, the bondage Nigerians have put other Nigerians. Because even then, they were doing quite some things. When they colonize you, they try to entice you with some things. These ones are not enticing anybody with anything. This is the height of man in humanity to man. They try to influence various countries too. But we must be able to stand, against such aggression by beginning. Because you can see, if you want to construct, you want to do whatever they give you, of course, it's like, they dictate what's happened in their climb. But then we can dictate what happens here. How many countries have rejected their loan and they are surviving? So they give you 1 naira, they enslave you 10 naira. But what I'm saying in essence is that we can easily get out of their bondage, by having the right resolution, knowing where we are going, being determined, to stand the test of time. What happens to most of these things? Somebody collect loan for Nigeria to repay, you know, and then they bring their conditionalities, you devalue your currency, you do this and that, as if you do not have enough resources that can bring you to prosperity without these foreign loans. So it's about just realizing that, yes, there is external influence, I agree with you, but that is just about 10% of our problem. 90% of the problem is internal. It is about greed. It's about corruption. It's about man inhumanity to man. It's about people not understanding how useless it is to amass wealth and enter their grave with nothing. So I think the youth, we should not lose hope about, and we should not be discouraged. The fact that people have divided minds, they would always have it. You know, what is important is for people who are visionary youths, those who understand their onions. They know their onions. These are the people who should come together. And then once you follow the right processes, you will get there, you know, because many people, we just call them youths, and they come under the umbrella of youth without being serious about anything. They are the same people who will be giving money. They are the same people you find as thugs, you know. They are the same people singing, you know, and clapping for people they want to really remove from the place. So the youth must be the kind of youth who are ready to learn, you know, because if you are not ready to learn, being a youth is not a license to govern. You know, you must be ready to learn. You must be able to unlearn and relearn some things. Politics itself is a whole discipline. It's not something you just enter and say, you know, even marriage, people enter marriages and they crash out. You know, the day we realize that if you truly want to govern, it is a field that requires a lot of skills, you know. So we need to go through all these processes, learn very well, be prayerful, and then be around people who are altruistic in their objective, those who truly want the best for the country. Begin to bring issues around this topic, engage leaders, and, you know, bring out leaders from among you. You know, so it is not about, you know, how large the population of the youth is, because in every political party, you have elders, you have the youth, you know. So it's just about you understanding what you want to do, be focused, get trained, get more knowledge, develop your competencies and your commitments, and, you know, play the game according to the rule of law. You begin to set example. In any event, power is not in the hands of anybody except Almighty Allah. So he enthrones and dethrones. Ours is to participate. We are participating because we have seen the rot in the community. And then he has said, if you see anything that is not good, change it with your hand. It is by going into politics that you can change it. It is only if you are not appointed or elected, then you don't stop talking about it in order to ensure that, you know, you encourage as many as possible to do what is right. So
thank
I
you
wish
very
us the
much.
very best.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Like I said, we can't have you enough on sessions like this. It is always very, very engaging to have you come on session like this. And what a night we have had with you, Doctor. I would really, really appreciate you. What cannot express how we feel about your submissions tonight. But before we call time, let's come to you now. Since you left office as the Commissioner for Home Affairs back then, of course, we know that you have been very, very active in the political setup. But a lot of us who know you have been looking forward to see you, to look at what is your next, what is this political dispensation that is coming ahead of us holding stock for you. A lot of us have been looking forward to hear from you. What is next in your political journey? Would you like to speak to that?
Well, you know, I am a politician. You know, politics is not my full-time job. My full-time job is dawah. You know, I preach the word of Allah, and that's why I'm in UK. You know, today I have a lecture tomorrow. You know, I come back, I have another lecture at Abuja. You know, I am a full-time caller. And politics is just a part-time because it's Allah who enthrones. So the average Muslim politician is not desperate about anything because you know that it is really traumatic to lead an unwilling people, and then it's not easy to lead at all. You know, when I left, when I told them I was not contesting again, I was drafted back and with an appointment as special advisor to the governor. That was Governor Fashola. Eventually, I also came back as commissioner. I think I am fulfilled, you know, because while being a commissioner, I've been able to address sectoral lapses. You know, fortunately for me, I was in charge of Hajj, and you know, then it was Lagos for show. So I was able to turn it to Lagos for Sunnah. You know, I remember when we went, you know, we did not go because of award, but then you see the National Hajj Commission giving Lagos State 7 out of 8 awards, you know, and Lagos coming out as the most outstanding state in Hajj operation. So I am fulfilled. You know, while in the House of Assembly, we were able to correct so many laws, you know, in Lagos State. We were able to, and when they were bringing to our table the law concerning marriage of man to man, we were able to stop it, you know. So we did a lot. So my job now is just to encourage, you know, as many people as possible to join politics, because if the righteous people decide to avoid it, you know, those who are, you know, whose orientation is crime, and you know, they will continue to bring retrogression to the country. So it's something that is not anybody's job, it's everybody's job. I will encourage you, and it is not until you contest before you participate in politics. So you can participate, you know, by ensuring that the sector or the profession, your field, your occupation, even in a private company, you are representing the government, because whatever you do touches someone. So it's about ensuring the happiness of the people wherever you are, because whoever you create discomfort for, the members of the society will suffer from that person's nuisance eventually. So everyone has a role to play. So that's why all of us are politicians, whether you like it or not. If it is a process by which you govern anything, at least you govern yourself, you govern your home, you govern your company, you govern, even when you have a duty to transport people from one place to the other, it's one system of governance that governs it. So we should see ourselves as the middle level leader. Everyone is a leader. And that would be just my passing shot, you know. And I wish us the very best.
Thank you. Just before you go, you mentioned your former principal, Raji Fashola, and I would like you to close out on this. He was quoted recently to have said that candidates can campaign without necessarily exaggerating our problem as a nation. And if you look at some of the candidates that we have even seen some who has gone as far as on international TV space to whine and talk extensively about our problem. What would you say to this?
Well, I think I will agree with Fashola, because mention anyone among those who came out who has not played a role in this system. So you see, like I said, you know, when I was mentioning about Einstein, that he said people are divided into 3: those who make things happen, those who watch as things are happening, and those who, you know, complain about how things are happening the way they are happening. We do not need complainants. We know the problem. You know, it's about you talking about solution. You know, the campaign should not, don't tell us about terrorists. We know they are there. How do you take them out? You know, so these are issue-based campaign. Why do you waste time telling us what we know? What do you want to talk about our economy that we do not know? Is it the devalued naira? You get to the pulpit, you want to tell us about, or to the campaign ground, tell us the price of naira to dollar, instead of telling us, you know, what you want to do. A country that produces nothing, how can your naira fight? You understand? People have nothing, they are buying from you. What do you think will happen to your naira? So issue-based campaign are campaigns that talks about the solution I am bringing on board, you know, And that is what Fashola was trying to say. Talk about what you are bringing on. That's what Nigerians are interested in. Don't tell Nigerians they are poor. They already know, you know. So exaggerating the problem, you know, is a political strategy by some people, you know, to fight a particular party. I hope you understand that. So the more we talk about the failure, the better for us. But that's not what Nigerians need. Nigerians truly need solutions to the problems. And, you know, apart from outlining the solution, the commitment to ensure that we walk the talk.
All right. Thank you very much. That is how we're going to call time on this session of Inspirational Leadership series. Today we had on the show Dr. AbdulHakeem AbdulLateef, a former Commissioner for Home Affairs in Lagos State, and we have been dissecting good governance. We have been breaking down good governance, and what an eye-opening session it has been. It has just been inspirational. It has also been very, very enlightening, and I can bet that the most of us who are on the call tonight have had one or two things to take away from here. We say a very big thank you again to Dr. Who has created time in spite of his very, very busy schedule to be here with us tonight. I'm very sure anytime we reach out to you to come back on sessions like this, I'm very sure you will not hesitate to honor us. Thank you very much. We pray that God continues to be your strength. And of course, going by some of the reactions here, a lot of them are very, very appreciative of your contribution tonight. And we can only but wish you well in your future endeavor. Thank you very much. And to the rest of the audience who have also joined us, we say a very big thank you for Mr. Adejiji Isiak, who appreciated this session and of course also said that we need to make this go viral, particularly the publicity of sessions like this. And of course, we have taken that in our stride and we ensure that we do that for subsequent sessions. Until next time when we come your way on yet another interesting edition of Inspirational Leadership Series, it's from me, your anchor Bolaji Olabide. Goodbye for now and see you some other time.